Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. How are you? Hope you all are fine. You are in best state of your health and iman. Students, today our topic is about chapter number 11 from class 5, subject science. Our chapter number 11 is about light. Before going to discuss this chapter in detail, we have to recall our previous knowledge that is about light. You have discussed in detail all these things. Number one, light is form of energy. Light travels in rays. Shadow is formed when light is blocked by an object. Number four, light becomes less intense as it travels away from a source. On daily basis, you had observed this point that when the sun rises, the rays will become brighter and brighter as the day passes. जैसे जैसे सूरज निकलता है आप ऑब्जर्व करते हैं कि सूरज की रेज चारों तरफ फैलती जाती हैं। इसका मतलब क्या है कि जो लाइट है वो एक एनर्जी की फॉर्म होती है और जब भी हम एक लाइट का कॉन्सेप्ट अपने माइंड में लाते हैं तो हमें एक इल्यूमिनेटिंग थिंग के बारे में आइडिया आता है। तो इसका मतलब है कि जब सूरज निकलता है तो जो रेज चारों तरफ फैल रही हैं वो एक लाइट की टाइप है, उसकी अगर हम एक रे को ऑब्जर्व करें। Okay students, and in this chapter we will learn about some objects are luminous and some are non-luminous. Pinhole camera, and we will see about it. Pinhole camera uses light to form image. Number third, types of materials: opaque, transparent and translucent. And the number fourth point is about types of eclipses. Okay students, first of all we will start from our reading book. This chapter consists from page number 96 to 102, and first of all we will see which type of things are on page number 96. First of all, it's all discussion about the luminous objects. Luminous objects are those objects which gives light energy by themselves. Students, in your surrounding you have clearly observed, and on daily basis you can observe it. When you switch on your light in your room, then your room will become lighted. तो क्या होता है जब हम अपने रूम में इलेक्ट्रिक बल्ब को ऑन करते हैं, ट्यूब लाइट को ऑन करते हैं, तो उसकी रोशनी से हमारा पूरा रूम क्या होता है, इल्यूमिनेटेड हो जाता है। ठीक है जी, तो इसका मतलब है हर वो ऑब्जेक्ट जो अपने अंदर से लाइट एनर्जी निकाल सकता है उसे हम ल्यूमिनस ऑब्जेक्ट का नाम देंगे। So this is the definition of luminous objects. Luminous objects are those objects which gives light energy by themselves. Some examples are given here like sun, stars and electric bulb. Okay, the next point is about non-luminous objects. Non-luminous objects are those that cannot emit light energy by themselves. For example, moon. हम सबको पता है कि जो चांद है वो अपनी लाइट एनर्जी से रोशन नहीं होता। रात के वक्त जब सूरज गरूब हो जाता है तो उस वक्त जो चांद है वो सूरज की लाइट को यूज कर रहा होता है। इसका मतलब है कि चांद की अपनी कोई भी रोशनी नहीं होती है। So moon is an example of the non-luminous object. Number third point is shadow. Shadow is formed when light is blocked by some object. Students, you have clearly observed that in your room when your electric bulb or tube light is on, then you can clearly form the shadow, clearly observe the shadow of your hand. जैसे ही आप अपना हाथ उस इलेक्ट्रिक बल्ब या ट्यूब लाइट की रोशनी के सामने लेके जाएंगे, आप क्लियरली उसे ऑब्जर्व कर सकते हैं कि आपके हाथ का शेडो बन रहा है। So it's this point clearly shows that light always passes in a straight line. So when light is blocked by some object, then the shadow of that object is formed. Number fourth point is about pinhole camera. Pinhole camera working is based on the point that light travels in straight line. इट इज वन विदाउट लेंस। यानी कि ये स्टूडेंट्स हमारी हिस्ट्री का जैसे जैसे जदीद टेक्नोलॉजीज आती गई, तो सबसे स्टार्ट पर इब्नुल हैशियम एक साइंटिस्ट हैं, साइंटिस्ट थे, उन्होंने पिन होल कैमरा के बारे में डिस्कशन की। एंड पिन होल कैमरा इज सच अ कैमरा विच इज विदाउट लेंस, consist of pinhole, means hole created by pin at one end and the tracing paper at an other end. Number fifth point, light is reflected when it strikes with any surface. जब भी लाइट किसी सरफेस के साथ टकराएगी वैसे ही बेंडिंग उसकी पॉसिबल हो जाएगी, जिसे हम रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ लाइट कहते हैं। Okay students, here the diagram of pinhole camera is there. You can observe it. It consists of rectangular shape having the four sides. On one side, pinhole is there, means hole created by pins. It shows that this hole is too much smaller. And you can see that here we can see the image of F. ये F अल्फाबेट गिवन है। जैसे ही लाइट सोर्स इस F के पीछे रखेंगे, लाइट की रेज इससे पास होंगी, टकराने के बाद जब इस होल से गुजरेंगी, तो इस होल से गुजरने के बाद जो हमने यहाँ पे फोटोग्राफिक प्लेट भी लगा सकते हैं, ट्रेसिंग पेपर भी लगाते हैं, तो वहां पर इसका जो इमेज बनेगा वो डेवलप हो जाएगा। And you can see that the image formed by the pinhole camera is upside down and reversed. So this is the diagram of pinhole camera. And the some concept of about types of materials are given. Number one, transparent objects. Okay students, before going to discuss this in theoretical form, you can see this diagram. Students, one giraffe is there. You can see on one side we cannot see its portion of its back body. Some side at this side you can see, and the front side you can clearly see its face. So those portion means those objects from which light can easily pass. We can say that objects are example of transparent objects, and those objects from which smaller amount of light can passes are known as translucent objects or translucent material, and those objects from which light cannot pass are known as opaque materials. So we can see its definition like transparent objects are those objects through which rays of light can pass easily. For example, water and glass is the basic example of our transparent objects. Translucent objects. Translucent objects are those objects through which only few rays of light can pass through it. For example, a paper from your notebook is an also example of the translucent. Opaque objects are those objects where no rays of light can pass through them. For example, wood. So this is all about the types of material, that is transparent, translucent and opaque. Some concept check is there by which you can see which of these reflects more light. Okay students, we have discussed about it. Which surface of light can reflect more light? Two different types of surfaces are there: a smooth polished surface or a bummy dull surface. Okay student, you can see here a diagram is given. Smooth surface. On smooth surface, when light strike, then maximum amount of light can reflect back because minimum absorption of light is there. So you can see that this is the incident ray, and after striking with this smooth surface, this is the reflected rays. So a smooth polished surface can reflect more light. So this is the rough surface, means dull surface. When incident ray strikes back, then maximum amount of absorption of light can occur. So it cannot give the more amount of reflection of light. So you can see a smooth polished surface will reflect more light. Number two, a black car or a white car, which one give more reflection? You can see here, this is the black car, this is the white car. So 5% reflection can occur by black car, means white car will give more reflection. You can see that this is the incident ray. After striking back, minimum amount of light can go back. On this white surface, 60% reflection of light can occur. So you can say a white car will reflect more amount of light and black car will absorb maximum amount of light. So minimum amount of reflection of light can occur. On third point, a log or a mirror. Difference between a log or a mirror means which object will give more reflection of light. So you can see this is a log of wood, यानी एक लकड़ी का छोटा सा टुकड़ा वो है, या एक मिरर हम यूज कर रहे हैं. So maximum amount of reflection can occur through mirror. We can see this is the log material made by wood and this is a opaque material जिसके अंदर से कोई भी लाइट पास आउट नहीं हो सकती है. ठीक हो गया. सो ये सारी की सारी एब्जॉर्प्शन हो रही है, रिफ्लेक्शन बैक कोई भी नहीं हो रही. सो मिरर के अंदर से मैक्सिमम अमाउंट ऑफ रिफ्लेक्शन जो है वो हो जाएगी. Number 2 question, give 2 examples of each of the following. Number 1, opaque material, concrete, wood are example of opaque material. Transparent materials means those objects from which light can pass. 2 examples are here, glass and water. Translucent material means tissue and plastics. These two are example of translucent materials. Okay, now on page number 98 and 99, types and size of shadow are given. First of all, we will see the difference between umbra and penumbra. Okay, students, you can see that when the light is blocked by any object, then the shadow of that object is formed. Okay, number 1, when light sources, you can see here a light source is given, this is the object, and these two portions are the shadow of this object. Some portion of the shadow is very dark and some are lighter in nature. So you have to differentiate between these two types of shadow. So number 1, a very dark shadow where there is no light is called an umbra. Umbra have sharply defined edges. This is the umbra. You can see. ये बहुत डार्क शेडो है ना, आप देख रहे हैं कि इनकी बाउंड्री बहुत क्लियरली डिफरेंशिएट हो रही है, डिफाइंड एजेस हैं बहुत प्रॉपर से. सो दिस इज द umbra. There is a lighter shadow with edges that are not as sharp as an umbra called a penumbra. जो लाइटर इन नेचर होता है, जो ज्यादा डार्क नहीं होता, शेडो के उस हिस्से को हम पेनोम्ब्रा कहते हैं. दोबारा से आप इसकी एक दफा फिगर को देखिए. ये लाइट सोर्स है, ये उसका ऑब्जेक्ट है. जब लाइट के सोर्स से रेस निकल के ऑब्जेक्ट पर जाएंगी तो क्या हुआ, ये अब ब्लॉक्ड हो गई है ना. हमने यही कहा था कि when light is blocked by some object, then the shadow of that object is formed. So you can see umbra and penumbra, two types of shadow are formed by the shadow of this object. So this is all about the different types of umbra and penumbra. Next is the size of shadow. A large source of light makes a shadow which is dark in center and lighter at edges. जैसे जैसे लाइट का सोर्स बड़ा होगा तो जो शेडो क्रिएट होगा वो डार्क होगा सेंटर में और लाइटर होगा एजेस में, अपने किनारों पर वो लाइटर होगा. A small source of light casts a very dark shadow with sharp edges. अगर हम स्मॉलर सोर्स ऑफ लाइट इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं तो उसके नतीजे में जो शेडो डार्क बनेगा और उसके एजेस जो हैं वो बहुत शार्प होंगे. Intensity. What is intensity? So brightness of light is called its intensity. जितनी brighter हम light इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं उतनी ही वो intense होगी. जैसे स्टूडेंट्स आप डिफरेंट देख सकते हैं कि जब हम एक कैंडल और इलेक्ट्रिक बल्ब के दरमियान डिफरेंस करें तो इन दोनों में कौन ज्यादा ब्राइटर है? इलेक्ट्रिक बल्ब. So electric bulb has more intensity as compared to the candle light. Number 4 point, light spread out from source. So further you are from the source, the less intense it is. जैसे जैसे हम लाइट के सोर्स से दूर होते चले जाएंगे, लाइट की इंटेंसिटी उतनी ही कम होती जाएगी. On next slide, you can see dependence of shadow formation. Shadow formation depends on 4 main points. Number 1, the nature of objects. Number 2, the intensity of light. Then the size of objects. Number 4, the distance between the source of light and object. You can see in the morning, the length of the shadow is longer than the actual object and points to the west. जैसे जैसे मॉर्निंग का वक्त होता है उस वक्त जो हमारा शेडो है उसकी लेंथ एक्चुअल हमारी लेंथ से ज्यादा होती है और वो वेस्ट की तरफ पॉइंटेड होता है. नंबर 2, एज द सन राइजेस अंटिल मिड डे, जैसे जैसे सन राइजेस होता जाएगा मिड डे तक द शेडो बिकम्स shorter. You can see in this diagram. This diagram shows when the sun rises. This diagram shows at the midday what is the position of shadow. At midday, the length of the shadow is the shortest. You can see this is the midday and the length of the shadow is shortest. Number D, when the sun sets, the length of the shadow gets longer. जैसे जैसे अब सूरज गरूब होने के करीब होता है तो उस वक्त शेडो की लेंथ लॉन्गर होती चली जाती है. In the afternoon, the length of the shadow is longer and points to the east. So this is all about the shadow formation on the whole day. Some concept check is there. Would a lighted match or an electric light have greater intensity? So its answer is that electric light will have higher intensity as it can be provided with more electricity. So number 1 question, what is the name of a very dark shadow with no light? That is umbra. What is a name of a lighter shadow? Penumbra. What time of day is it likely to be if your shadow is very short? That is midday. From page number 100 to 102, we have to discuss about the eclipses and its different types. First of all, we have to see what is eclipse. Eclipses occur when one body moves into shadow of another body. Eclipses occur when one body moves into shadow of another body. So there are the 2 types of eclipses. Number 1, solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. Number 1, solar eclipses occur when the moon comes between the sun and earth. Solar eclipse तब होगा जब चांद सूरज और जमीन के दरमियान आ जाए तो फिर वो सूरज की रेस को जमीन तक नहीं पहुंचने देता. उस दौरान हम कहते हैं कि सूरज ग्रहण हो गया है. आप यहाँ पर डायग्राम देख सकते हैं स्टूडेंट्स. दिस इज द अर्थ and this blue line will show the orbit of earth, and this is the moon, this is the sun. We can see moon is an opaque body, no rays can pass through it. So this is the shadow formed by the moon, and there are the 2 types of shadow formed in this case. One is umbra and the lighter shadow will shows the penumbra. So this is all about the solar eclipse. Solar eclipse are of 3 types. 2 types have been discussed here, that is total eclipse and the partial eclipse. You can see here when complete moon is in under the path of the sun and the earth, then the total eclipse can occur. So this is the representation of partial eclipse. You can see here the diagram of partial eclipse created by the pathway created by the moon, when moon will be in the path of earth and sun. So next point is about lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse occurs when the earth comes directly between the sun and the moon. The shadow of earth falls on the moon. Some diagram is here. You can see that this is the sun, earth and the moon. When the earth comes in the way of sun and the moon, then the lunar eclipse can occur. You can see here that when the sun rays will be unable to reach on the pathway of moon. You can see here that this is the moon, this is the earth. So this is the lunar eclipse. You can see here. Okay, students, next some history about the Ibn al-Hasham, a great Muslim scientist is there. Ibn al-Hasham, a Muslim physicist from Persia, was the first scientist to study and investigate light. He invented the pinhole camera. His experiments proved that we are able to see because light enters our eyes. He carried out the first experiments to show the dispersion of light into 7 colors. He studied shadows, rainbows, and eclipses. We now use cameras and microscopes, the early foundations of which were laid 1,000 years ago by this great scientist. Concept check is there. Eclipses can be lunar or solar. They can be partial or total. Now we will discuss from our workbook, page 29 to 38. Number 1 question is given on page number 29. This is some sort of activity you have to perform by yourselves. Some discussion are here. Write down the 8 objects and the materials they are made of. Then state whether the materials are transparent, translucent or opaque. Number 1 object, that is glass door. Glass door is made up of wood and is material transparent, translucent or opaque. So no light can pass through the glass door. We can say wood is an opaque object. So number 2 is the window. Window is made up of glass and glass is the translucent object, means some light can pass through it. Number 3, water. Water is made up of 2 gases, that is hydrogen and oxygen. This is an example of transparent material. Number 4, sheet of your notebook made up of cellulose fiber. This is the translucent. 4 objects are given here and the 4 objects you can do it by yourself from your clear observation that which amount of light can pass through it. Number 2, which type of material, transparent, translucent or opaque, should be used to make each object? Discuss in group. Okay students, number 1 is that of about a camera lens. You can see here a diagram is given. This is a figure of camera. This is the transparent material. A day curtain, this is the translucent, means it allows decent amount of light to enter in our room. You can see that some rays of light can pass through it. So this is an example of translucent object. Number 3, a display case. You can see here, this is a trans material, all amount of light can pass through it. A safe, this is an example of opaque material. On page 30, some discussion of about the shadow formation are given here. Test your prediction by placing each object between a torch and a screen. Switch off room lights and shine the torch on object. Okay students, number 1, from your observation, which type of materials will form shadow? All types of material form shadow, but shadow formed by translucent, transparent objects may be faint. Some activity type is given here, by which they are saying switch off your room lights and shine the torch on object. Take one torch and take different objects, and one by one you can see your observation from by which amount of light can pass through it and which type of shadow will be formed from that object. You can use different objects at one time. So from one question they ask either all types of material will form shadow. We can see all types of material will form shadow, but the shadow formed by the translucent transparent objects may be faint. Why do these types of material form shadow? When light cannot reach in the formation of image of object, then the shadow is formed. Which form of material forms the darkest shadow? This is the opaque object forms the darkest shadow. Size of shadows. Recall your observation and fill in the blanks with the words from that box. One figure is there. We can see if we move the light closer to the object, then the shadow is bigger. जैसे जैसे आप लाइट को करीब करते जाएंगे ऑब्जेक्ट के, तो शेडो बड़ा होता चला जाएगा. If we move the light far from the object, the shadow is smaller. If the screen is moved dash to the object, means closer to the object, then the shadow is smaller. If the screen is moved far from the object, then the shadow is bigger. You can see on this diagram, if the object is moved closer to the screen, the shadow gets smaller. जो भी आप ऑब्जेक्ट यूज कर रहे हैं, आप जैसे जैसे उसे स्क्रीन के पास लेते जाएंगे तो शेडो जो है वो स्मॉलर होता चला जाएगा. If the source is moved closer, the shadow gets bigger. जैसे जैसे हम जो लाइट का सोर्स है उसे करीब करते जाएंगे तो शेडो बड़ा होता जाएगा. On page 34, some questions are given. What causes a solar eclipse? Do you think when the whole earth will be in darkness? Why or why not? The whole earth will not be in darkness as the moon is smaller than the earth. Its shadow covers only small area on earth. Demonstrate what is happening during this experiment. All you need is a flashlight, a coin, and a partner. Aim the flashlight at your partner's face, then hold the coin in front of flashlight and see how it blocks the light. So what happened? What do the different items represent? Which one is the sun, which one is the moon, and which one is the earth? Flashlight will represent sun as it is an illuminating thing here. Coin will represent the moon. On partner's face, shadow of coin will represent the earth. What causes a lunar eclipse? Draw a diagram to explain how a lunar eclipse occurs. This is the sun, this is the earth, this is the moon. You can see this shadow of the moon will be formed when earth is in the pathway of the sun and the moon, then the lunar eclipse can occur. Can you see a lunar eclipse with naked eye? Lunar eclipse can be viewed with naked eye as they are dimmer than the full moon. You can see here, it is perfectly safe to watch the lunar eclipse with naked eye. The moon revolves around the earth once every month. Why does not an eclipse occur every month? Its answer is that moon revolves around earth, but it does not always get in earth's shadow. Moon's path is tilted compared to earth's orbit around sun. Choose the correct answer. A pinhole camera is a camera that works without a lens. A option is correct. Number 2, the image from a small holder in a pinhole camera is sharper. Number 3, the image formed by a pinhole camera is upside down. Number 4, shadows are formed by an opaque object blocking the light. Number 5, what happens during a lunar eclipse? The earth passes between the sun and the moon. Match the following columns. Column A little light can pass through translucent objects. Number 2, light can pass through transparent. A lighter shadow, penumbra. Dark shadow, umbra. Light cannot pass through opaque, gives off light, luminous. Make these sentences with true or false. Total solar eclipses occur quite often. Right. Light is the fastest thing in the universe. Right. The umbra is very dark shadow with sharp edges. Right. The brightness of light is called its intensity. Right. Smooth surfaces reflect more light than rough ones. Right. Dark colors reflect more light than light colors. Wrong. A shadow is always smaller than the object itself. Wrong. On page 30, some questions are given. Answer the following questions. In your words, explain how a shadow is formed. A shadow is formed on the side of opaque objects where light cannot reach. Name 5 luminous things. How are they different? You can see these all things are luminous, that gives off lights by themselves. So this is the sun, this is the moon, these all are the stars. This is the tube light, electric bulb, energy savers. These all are the examples of luminous objects. What kind of materials are translucent? Those materials which allow some light to travel through them are translucent. For example, in paper, tissue, etc. Some examples of translucent objects are given here. You can see that students, clouds are example of translucent objects. Means they are allowing some rays of light can pass through it. All of these materials are translucent, allow some light to pass, but the light cannot be clearly seen through. Dear students, you have completed your chapter number 11, light. When you completed your task, must say Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Allah.